First topic of the day is this debate that happened almost about a week and a half ago now, or it might have been last week. But since we had last week's episode already queued up, I didn't get a chance to talk about it. Now then, with that being said, for those that don't know, Biden and Trump had their, I guess, what would they say, the first debate of the campaign trail on, obviously this all leads to November where they have one big election. Ooh, popular vote, general vote. Oh my gosh, they stole the election, stormed the Capitol. This is where everything starts, kind of in this time frame right now. And the sentiment, if you have probably, or you had to have already seen this already, where it's Joe Biden is unfit. Now, that's not news. 2 plus 2 doesn't sometimes equal 4, right? You see the dude getting lost in all these other interviews. You see him watching a Juneteenth celebration like he's never seen black people before. And then he comes out and does this debate and forgets what he's saying at some points. Kind of loses track of his thoughts. He kind of just fumbles his words. He ends up rambling about some other shit. 2 plus 2 does equal 4 all the time. This is not surprising. And this is where I kind of got annoyed. I was making pizza and I was just watching this thing and I was just like, this isn't surprising. I didn't expect both of these guys to blow me away with some spectacular performance. I understand. I was on here raving about how he killed his State of the Union address. But sometimes the drugs don't work all the time. You can't pump them up every single time. The dude is old. I was telling Isha where I was just like, these guys 100% deserve credit for being some of the best performers in America. The amount of pressure, the amount of crap you have to remember, all the victims' names of illegal immigrants that took advantage of people. Oh my gosh, we reduced unemployment by this percentage. We increased the housing market by this percentage. The stock market increased by this dollar amount. You have to remember all of that shit. Then they do hair and makeup. Then you put on this stiff suit. Then you go stand up there on a podium. Then it's not like they just instantly start recording. They adjust lighting. They rehearse stuff. Hey, you know what? This is how this is going to go. This is going to be the general idea. You have a moderator. She's going to ask a question. Please hold for 15 minutes while they answer, and then you will have 5 minutes to follow. They go through all of this, and then finally this all starts. And they go on for an hour straight. This is unedited, right? Obviously, or else they would have edited all that crap of him just kind of forgetting where he was at, him being Joe Biden. But Joe Biden being unfit is not new news. This is the new problem with America, is that old people don't let go. Old people don't let go. It's just what's happened, right? Where they come to the country, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. I can have more. I can have more. Oh, I can cash out my 401k and have more. Then they're like, fuck these kids. I don't want to give this up. I have power. I have a house. I have money. I don't want to give this up. These kids didn't work hard enough for it. And that's the mentality. Look at everything that's happening. Look at the housing market. Look at the stock market. Look at the presidency, whether it's the actual presidency, the House seats, the Senate seats, court seats. Old people don't let go. This average age thing was never built into America. The age ceiling was never built into America because people were dying by the age of 48. There was no need to set a maximum age. You know what? I think we'll set the minimum age of the age 35. You have to be born in America and a bunch of other stuff. There was never a max age. There was a max number of years. Hey, you know what? After 8 years, I think we're going to let go of someone. There was never a max age. And this is where we're at, where nothing was ever put in place to say, hey, you know what? You have now reached the ceiling. You must exit. Because there's a curve to this stuff where you're young, right? You're young. Let's say you're coming up all the way until you're 35 is actually not a bad age. 35, you should probably have a good understanding of a lot of things, whether it's how the economy runs, how housing works, the general structure of how tax works. You get this socioeconomic viewpoint that you don't have when you're 25 and you think, oh my gosh, I think Trump's the worst person ever. You have no idea what you're talking about. Same thing with Biden. But then the curve kind of starts dwindling back the other way. After probably the age of, let's say, 60, it all goes downhill. Talk to anyone in your family, right? You'll get a general idea through different conversations you have. The next family function you go to, talk to the youngest person there, talk to the 13-year-old that's on TikTok making probably $1 million an hour. Talk to the middle-aged person that is probably, sneaking away to smoke a cigarette now and then. Probably, let's say 40 to 60, middle age, 35 to 60. And then talk to the elder folks, right? I'm talking 60 and up, right? Your grandparents in most cases. If you're lucky enough to have great grandparents, talk to them. They barely know where they're at. You got to make them a plate of food. You got to bring it to them. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be treated like that. I love old people, right? I think there's so much to learn. I think they've seen shit that we will never see. They've survived wars. They've survived occupations. Well, it's not occupation. What the hell am I talking about? Like we're British occupation. They've survived all of these things that we won't even have to touch. We won't even have to entertain. Possibly. I don't know yet. We'll see how this country goes. But there's so much richness in their history. But there's a line to draw where it's like, you know what? I don't think I would have you run my household, let alone run a country. So these two 70-year-olds are up there, 70-plus-year-olds are up there answering stuff about their campaigns. Oh, how did this person do? How this person did? This is how we're going to do this if we get reelected. And all of it's nonsense, right? Obviously, they make promises. They undercommit on stuff. They over-exaggerate on the things that they did do. And the next thing you know, a couple years later, we do the exact same stuff over and over again. They have reached well past their prime. And we're asking them to do maybe not the hardest, maybe, I don't know. Where would you put this on the difficulty scale? But it's definitely the most strenuous. If you don't believe me, go look at how Joe Biden was talking 4 years ago. And look at him today. I understand age plays a factor and you get a certain level of treatment and whatnot. But there's a lot of strain to it. Look at any president's before and after picture. There's strain to it. And this debate was quite literally seen as comedy. As comedy. What am I even watching at this point? What is this? I have to pick one of these guys? And the worst part about it is the after reporting, right? So the debate ends, and the summary of it was people took away that how Joe Biden stumbled a bit. The whole Trump stuff, look, a quick little 2 minutes on Trump, or quick 30 seconds on Trump, where a lot of his questions revolved around, hey, did you incite violence? Did you incite the people to then storm the Capitol? And he didn't say no, right? But he said, hey, this other person, I think he said Nancy Pelosi, took the blame for it. Therefore, she should be the person that takes the responsibility for it. I shouldn't. Oh, hey, did you pay off a porn star? I don't know what you're talking about. Those are all false claims. You do what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to deny it until it goes away. And look, I don't know where that whole litigation stuff is at. I don't know if it's finalized. I don't know if there's a process to overturn it. I think they're allowing him to still run, and people are making this whole meme culture around, oh, well, if this person can run for president with convictions, then you should be able to run for your local. No. Look at the actual conviction before we start saying stupid shit like that, please. Please, please, please. So getting back to Biden, where after the election, we start talking about the most nonsense. You see the most unloyal people ever. And then also, actually, let me slow down. We get to after the election, the CNN crew are up there with about 30 people around this tiny ass table. And they're all kind of having this sad. You would think you're at a funeral. You would quite literally think you're at a funeral. Oh my gosh, I worked with Joe for 30 years. I was part of his campaign trail in the early days, and him and I got to share so many fond memories, but that person up there today, that's not Joe. Like, why? How is this a surprise? We saw this happening, right? We saw the decline of his mental state, his physical state. He has to get helped off stage, and he's going against, and we'll get back on Trump in a second. And he's going against Trump. And all of these people on the CNN board are basically talking about, oh my gosh, like he did so bad. And there was a bunch of polls that CNN, CNN runs those like live polls. Hey, who do you think won the election? Do you think it was, won the debate? Was it this person, what percentage? And Biden had, I think, maybe 8%. 8%. Now, I get it. People stay loyal, they vote. But there was no way that either one of them really won. Biden had a worse showing, so I guess that's what ends up happening. And so here's my conspiracy of it all. Here's my conspiracy, because there's a lot of noise around this right now. So it takes a lot of money to get to this position. It takes a lot of money to get to this position where, okay, you know what? I will be the Democratic person on the ticket going forward. It takes a lot of money. A lot of people donate money forward. Hey, I'm going to send Biden and Kamala on the ticket for November. That's how they can get into all of these primary debates or whatever happens next. So can I just switch people out? I don't know how the money works like that. So my theory is that they're trying to paint a picture. Look, America is Hollywood. Understand that right now. America is just a bigger version of Hollywood. And we're in the midst of a script. So how do you get this person that is more than likely pretty unwell to run for the job? How do you get him to step down or prove that he is unfit? And then, hey, who do we slide in next? Can we get that Kennedy guy? He's normally a Republican. Didn't the CIA kill his whole family? He might be a Democrat this time. How do we get someone that can actually take down this big evil? Oh my gosh, we can't have Trump again. America will go to World War III. I'm moving to Canada. I remember all the tweets. The sentiment, the feeling. I remember trying to make jokes about it and bombing on stage. So here comes this general sentiment. Oh my gosh, Biden is unfit. How can we get him to step down? How can we get himself to remove himself? The issue is Biden himself is just doubling down, saying, hey, I'm good. I thought I didn't do too bad up there. In addition to that, I'm what the people need. I will be the person that keeps us away from this big bad evil. I would step down if I felt like the Republican nominee was anything decent, but I have to stay up here. As you can tell, my Biden impersonation isn't great, but you can barely hear the guy speak now. He just murmurs. He just talks, and then we have to do. You don't understand him. He should get a podcast, and he should just do that. He should just move on from this job. I don't understand what the influence is here. I don't understand what the draw is as far as like, oh, I want to keep on doing this. Why? You're going to die. Now, here's an interesting scenario. Let's say Biden wins. Somehow Biden wins and he dies in office. Rest in peace. I hope he had a great life. Kamala becomes president. I get it. Oh, and I was actually talking about this at an engagement this past weekend where it's like, I don't want it to be her. But also, and so this was my argument where it's like, does it matter? It doesn't matter. Obama wasn't the best president, but We wanted him. We wanted a nice black guy in the office. I don't really care how he does on the job, but this is the change we need right now. And it's also monumental to then have I don't know if what she identifies as, whether it's Indian, African, whatever it is, but a minority woman in office, not in office, the president. Come on now. Who cares what happens after that? But also, here's my not conspiracy, but I guess my don't take fantasy in the weird way, you know what I'm saying? But like, let's say she just turns this thing into an absolute, she just becomes a tyrant. And she puts the foot down on America, where she just says, you know what, enough's a fucking enough. This is how we're gonna run shit from now on. Like a good Indian mom, you know what I'm saying? Where she loves you. She loves you. But if you piss her off, oh my God. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen, right? We're just saying hypotheticals. Now we get to Trump. As much as you can hate Trump for his politics, who he is, paying off porn stars, this guy is one of the greatest entertainers in all of history. Anytime a camera is on this guy, a debate, whatever, The Apprentice, his hotel, or whatever he's talking about, anytime this guy is on camera, it is entertainment. He is an absolute monster when it comes to this shit. He knows how to duck and weave on questions. He knows how to make certain facial expressions for you to be like, what am I even watching? And that is the guy that is going against our poor old man on the other side. This shit, at the point that we're at, is quite literally abuse. And we got to let all these guys go. We got to let them all go. I was telling Isha this. Now, look, I'm not part of the far left wing and saying, hey, you know what? I think we don't need a president. I think we should all just be able to do what we want to do and just vote and just have whatever like, cut it out. That's how you end up with California. That's how you end up with California. I know what people think, oh my gosh, California is so great. No, it's not. The weather over here is great. Everything else is not great. I truly believe that we do need a governing body. You need a governing body. This has been a testament of time. I understand all the civilizations have fallen and they have all had governing bodies, but I do believe we need a governing body. The issue is how this thing is set up currently is not fit. It's not fit for this new America that we've gotten to, right? We have these 1774 laws and rules and regulations and age restrictions and limits on an America that's much, much past that. If it was even possible to put a pause on this shit, right? Hey, you know what? We're going to actually keep Biden in office, just hold the seat for a little bit. And we're going to change up this structure. We're going to bring in Bain, Deloitte, McKinsey. We're going to bring all those consultants in that are doing blow on the weekends, bring them in here, and they're going to work their ass off for about 4 months, 2 years maybe. Let's give them 2 years. You know how long they take. And they're just going to restructure all of this shit. Hey, you know what? This is how you get a law passed. Hey, you know what? This is how this gets passed. Hey, this is how we can get healthcare to a certain affordability. Hey, this is how we can get Americans to hold more houses, like they can actually afford housing. This is how we can get all of this shit in place. Okay, and then this is what the president will be, and this is what the age restriction and window will be, and this is how the whole setup will be. Okay, now we can continue. It's crazy, man. The point that we're at is crazy. And look, I get the questions, like people are like, oh my gosh, like a burger is $16 and for me to go to the hospital, it costs $1,000. Those things, yes, I understand. We can blame the president. They're not really in charge of gas prices as much as we want to think they are. There is something a little bit funny about people complaining about climate change. Like I get it. There's ways to probably mitigate it, but I don't expect these guys to be Superman. Like this earth is moving towards the sun. And you expect one of those dudes to go out there and push it the other way?